Right. Well, I'm not really sure what I'm going to be doing with this or if I really can do anything with that, but I figured just by virtue of it being there, it makes the background that I've usually been using in this setting more interesting by default of being more than one color in the background now. So I figured I'll just keep it up there for now, and maybe if I find something of use for it to be able to do, then I'll use it. But what this video is going to be about is obviously you saw the title in the thumbnail. It's going to be about the Cleveland Browns. Final game of the season, losing to the Pittsburgh Steelers, as seems to be tradition more and more. Bernie Kosar getting canned from the organization for some kind of betting thing, and he was an employee doing stuff on the radio, and he was betting on Browns games. But still, him getting canned seemed like kind of a bad omen before this game. Definitely seeing one of your esteemed one of your historically best quarterbacks in franchise history getting fired from the organization right before a game, that usually doesn't spell out a good thing for your organization. Usually that says you're kind of in a state of disarray or in some kind of bad shape. The only sustained drive early in the game was by Pittsburgh, and that was ended out on a forced fumble at the goal line when Najee Harris tried to jump over the pile. Although the Steelers definitely should have scored on a running attempt before that, it was pretty obvious that Najee Harris the ball crossed the plane before his knee was down, but the Steelers didn't challenge it, and the officials didn't look. In fact, the Steelers actually tried to run a quick snap after that for whatever reason, even though they could have challenged it, it would have been a touchdown. But either way, the refs missed it, the Steelers didn't challenge it, and that drive ended up in a forced fumble. Shaky officiating would be a theme throughout this game for both teams. They were both sides being not arguably, they were, rightfully correct about how the referees are screwing them out of some calls, and both teams definitely experiencing some ref ball at different points in this game. Watson leading a touchdown drive in the second quarter that opened up the scoring on a catch by David Njoku, although Greg Gumbel seemed to fall asleep during the call of this touchdown catch. I'm not sure what went on. He called an Njoku and then just kind of stopped talking for a little bit. I don't know what he was waiting for. Even when the official signaled touchdown, he seemed kind of at a loss for words. The broadcasting team in this game was awful to listen to as well. I forget his last name, like Adam Ant-Man or something. Either way, it was just a rough night, a rough day for the broadcasters anyway. Then the Browns' late half collapse coming in right on schedule. Steelers drive down the field, but they're facing a 3rd and 15, so it looks like the Browns might be able to get away with holding them to a 3-pointer here. But Pickens gets lost in the coverage, and Kenny Pickett finds him wide open for a 31-yard touchdown to tie the game on a 3rd and 15. Not a good look for the defense, in which old issues of losing guys in coverage seeming to pop up again in this one. And then Deshaun Watson throwing a terrible interception. Pittsburgh able to get a field goal before the end of the half. So the Browns, who were up 7-0 at the 2-minute warning, found themselves going into the locker room trailing 10-7. Just another, we've seen this before, but this is just the epitome of the Browns doing this thing where most of the time the offense is stagnant, but they get a lead, and then late in the half, it just kind of all falls apart on them. Another long Pittsburgh drive, ending in a field goal, opening up the second half in this one. And then Deshaun threw another horrible pick on the ensuing drive. Kazi read him all the way as he stared down David Bell on that play. Najee Harris then bullied the Browns with the short field given by the interception, and he got himself a touchdown run to put the Steelers up by 13 in the third. Cleveland got themselves back in it with a touchdown drive to make it a one-score game with a little bit more than 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter, aided definitely by a really bad roughing call. The officials missing a face mask on Deshaun Watson as well. Again, both sides having very legitimate gripes with calls that did or did not go their way in this one. But the defense could not get off the field on the next Steelers drive on 4 tries on 3rd down. Steelers getting a touchdown on the drive after an end zone pass interference call. Converted the 2-point try just for the sake of it. I don't think the Browns are going to be scoring 2 touchdowns, but I guess better safe than sorry to make the lead 14 points. I feel like half of it was just the Steelers doing it just because they knew that they could, and that was pretty much the game. I feel like Joe Woods probably has to go in the offseason. It's been a few years now of the defense seemingly underperforming, especially after that Pittsburgh drive for the touchdown that kind of iced the game. Saw multiple 3rd and long downs, 3rd down and longs converted on this one. Cleveland once again finding themselves in the basement of the AFC North, and their offseason trade for Deshaun Watson definitely giving every other fan base reason to point and laugh and kick at them while they're down. By the way, Nick Chubb in the running game was pretty much mostly ignored in this one to give Watson reps. Like, this was kind of a preseason game because the Browns are at this point where it's the final week of the season. They're well out of the playoff picture and they don't have a first round pick. So, it's like just give out and see what Deshaun Watson can do with the passing game, and then completely ignore what should be the best part of your offense with Nick Chubb in the running game. And the offensive line, as we saw this season, isn't quite so much of a dominant line that we might have thought they were heading into the season, but that's a whole different discussion. I already talked about David Clowney leaving and his blow up in practice earlier. Kareem Hunt is almost, he's out the door as well too. Who knows if Mike Prefer stays? I know people have been calling for his job for a little bit now. I'm not even sure what Alex Van Pelt does as the offensive coordinator. Maybe he helps with the game plan, because I know Kevin Stefanski both runs the offense and calls plays. I'm not sure what Alex Van Pelt is there to do, but I'm sure it's something. And this isn't me being like, oh, Alex Van Pelt does nothing, but it's just that I don't know what it is that he does. And we've all questioned Stefanski's play calling throughout the year. Speaking of that, we've all had moments this season where we've been scratching our heads wondering what the game plan was or why this call was made at this time. So basically, you can look at every facet of coaching for this team, and it's kind of up in the air as far as how confident we are in their abilities, or even if they'll be around coming into next season. At least this offseason doesn't look like it's going to be boring, except for the first round of the draft this year and next year, by the way. I hope wasting this season and also a top 10 pick this year is going to be, quote unquote, worth it in the end for them. Get just based off past things and how that has worked for the Browns doesn't seem to be likely. I'm kind of relieved that this season is over. That I don't have to really talk about this team preparing for a game next week against some other opponent in a meaningless game that has no impact on their future for this season or even for their draft positioning. But seeing as this video is about to come to an end, I'm running out of things to talk and ramble about. I will end this on a Browns tradition, unlike any other, maybe next year. I'll see you at the next one.